Hello, everyone. It is Sunday night, and we are coming to you live from Bat City Comic Professionals in Bradenton, Florida. As always, I'm your host, Shannon, aka Small Press Shann, here to wind down your weekend with you and all of this week's indie and small press new releases. It is going to be an absolutely fun time. We're going to talk about some great comics, as well as some fun times we've had this week and things that are coming up in the future. But of course, if we're going to wind down our weekend, we're going to need some wine. So we're going to kick it off by talking about what we're drinking today, which is a new Cupcake. Cupcake's a brand that's been around for a while. It's actually a really, really great intro wine. If you are like, I kind of want to try wine, I'm not really sure, Cupcake's actually one of those that's pretty easy to consume in any of its variations, which means I'll probably just hate this now because I just told you it was really easy to consume, and that like it's always fun to, but this one is a new red blend that's their Black Forest. It is supposed to be what they say it's decadent, but it's supposed to have like cherry and coffee notes, very dark cherry specifically. It is still a red blend, so that means it's gonna have like all the different kinds of grapes and things mixed together. But we're gonna see if it's any good. I do like most of the reds that Cupcake has, so I would assume that the darkest of them is going to probably be really good, but we'll see. Matt just smelled his, and I smelled it when I opened it, and I was like, I can't tell if I like that smell or not because it was like so strong of a smell. It's actually really, really reduced now that it's had time to breathe. But once again, yeah, it is just absolutely universally easy drinkable wine. It does have, you can definitely taste the cherries in it really well. Like it has a very, very strong cherry like aftertaste to it, but I kind of like that. And it blends nicely with their grapes that they chose. So I'm in, and if I just feel like I need to say, like, we always talk about like, oh, we're gonna take a drink, and I've had people who've come in who've been like, is that really your first drink of the wine on the show? And I will honestly say yes. Like, pretty much 99.99% of the wines that we try on the show, we've never had them before, and the drink that we take when we say we're going to taste it for the first time is actually the very first time that either of us have taken the drink. And I actually wish that you could see both of our faces, because we do not always have the best reactions for the first drink. And so sometimes it's like, that was a wine, and sometimes you get lucky and it's really smooth and easy to drink, and sometimes it just absolutely becomes like our favorite wines that we taste for the first time here. So it's a lot of fun to get to have that experience, but it's definitely nice when it works out like that.
This has a very advanced flavor, but a really light body.
It is very, very light in the body. Like, you're not gonna, a lot of people say like what they don't like about red wines is all the tannin kickback, like the acidity. There's not really a lot of that at all on this. I think that, again, this is something that if you're going to a party and you're going to take a wine with you, this is a great one to take, because it would probably go with pretty much anything somebody was serving, but also wouldn't be something that people wouldn't be able to drink. You know, there are a lot of wines that we choose for the show that I could probably not give to everybody at a party, because they'd be like, oh, this is too spicy, or this is like, oh, I can feel the heartburn happening. This is definitely the opposite end of that spectrum. I don't really feel like it has a coffee taste in the moment, but now that I'm sitting here, and bear in mind, I do not drink coffee because I can't. But I do kind of feel like the like you have a little bit of it in the linger more than you do in the foreground tasting of that. But anyway, we're going to be drinking that Cupcake Black Forest all night long. If you're here and you're hanging out with us, let us know in the chat whether you're watching this live on Facebook right now or you're catching it later on YouTube. We always love to see what people are up to and what books you love this week. So drop the books that you loved into the chat so that we can talk about them ongoing. And speaking of things that we have to talk about, we had a great week at Bad City. This was a really crazy week. Lots of things happened. I do a weekly recap with one of my best friends every week, and I have struggled so hard to remember everything that happened this week because it was such a busy week. But we did have our Independence Sell, which was us honoring all of our favorite indie small press creators, which is all of them. We had a sell on all of the great indie and small press titles in the store. It was 30% off all week. So many of you came in and were like, I'm going to try a new series that I haven't tried before just because it's on sale, and that's so much of what we want to see. We're so happy to see people picking up books that they hadn't ever picked up before and getting excited to read them. And how many people that I got to see come back later in the week and be like, okay, I bought this in the early part of the sale and now I want the rest of it before the sale ends was super great. Oh my gosh. I hope to see all of you come back and tell me about all the books that you bought, that you read, that you're in love with now. I know buying and reading comics or any book are two separate hobbies. To be read piles are meant to exist. But if you did read them, come back and tell me whenever that may come across. And then we had our Fresh Start book club this week, which was really great. We read Sex Criminals #1. Shout out to the book club team for all of the fun that we had at that. There were so many people at book club just absolutely cracking up the whole time talking about Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky's great story. This next month, we will be reading World Tree #1. So the cool thing about that is it's pretty hard to kind of find a World Tree #1, but they have made an image first of it, which means it's only $1. As with everything at Fresh Start Book Club, we're only reading the first issue and you're getting it for $1. So come grab that image first of World Tree so you're prepped for next month's book club in August. We had comic creation workshops this week. We got to go down to Shannon Staub Library down in Northport and host Academic Avengers for them. We met a lot of really cool kids and their parents and guardians that came with them. They're library adults, to put it in library terms. It was so exciting to get to hang out with all those library kids and just play some games and make some fun superhero masks. We had a blast. So thank you to Shannon Staub Library for having us out. And if you are a Northport resident who came out, just know that there will be some more fun stuff coming from Bat City and the library your way in the future. We also got to go to the Marauders game and celebrate the history of the Nine Devils, which is the Bradenton Aces, who became the Nine Devils after they won 9 straight games in a row in the Florida State Negro League. It was such a cool thing to be a part of that history moment. We made color your own Nine Devils history comics that the kids got to get, which were super exciting to get to partner with the Marauders on that experience. We do have some left, so kids or adults, if you want to learn the Nine Devils history and you want to color your own comic in the process, you can pick those up at the store as while supplies last. And again, thanks to the Marauders for letting us be a part of creating that and handing those out at the game. And then yesterday we had our Slam Academy lettering class, which was super cool. Matt taught that class as a professional letterer. He got to share all of his design work and information with the Slam Academy students, and it was really cool to see them learn how to develop everything from the text to the letter boxes to the panel structure in general within that. So fantastic. The next Slam Academy class is this upcoming weekend. It is this Saturday at 3:30, and it is actually open to everyone. So whether you are a Slam Academy student or not, and I hope I'm getting this right, we are on the 21st, right? Yes. Whether you're a Slam Academy student or not, this week is the art history, comics as art history Slam Academy class being taught by art historian Barrett Burke, who's going to be coming. He is coming in to teach all about comics and the history of them as art. And so it's going to be really cool. So whether you're an adult or a kid, this class is actually open to anybody who wants to come hear Barrett talk about it. We have a little teaser of what that looks like on our YouTube channel back from Will Eisner Week when Barrett got to do a little bit of that. But yeah, check that out. I believe that's the class this weekend. Don't quote me on that. I don't have the calendar in front of me. So if I'm wrong, then it's a different Slam Academy class. But I'm pretty sure that we're at Barrett's class because I think that's where we are in the month. But there's a lot of dates, and I believe this week is also Story Spelunkers for the kids. So if you have a young kiddo who wants to work on their reading and wants to do it through comics, you will be able to join us this Saturday at noon, and then this Thursday we will be in the morning. We'll be at the oh my gosh, what library? Rocky Bluff Library for story time. And then we will also have story time here on Friday morning. So make sure you're checking our calendar on our Facebook for all of those fun, amazing events that are coming your way, because there's always a lot of them all the time. There's also a pinned calendar at the top of our Instagram if you ever need to know. Was I right? Did you check it? Oh.
We do have Slam on the 21st.
Is it the art history one? Was I right?
Art history on the 20th. Right. Yes.
21st.
This says on Saturday, July 20th.
Oh, 20th. Okay, cool.
Slam Academy.
Sweet. Sweet. 20th is Saturday, and it is the art history one. I was right about everything but the date. Perfect. Yay. So, yeah, again, adults, kids, teens, whoever, that's a free class for anybody who wants to come hear Barrett speak about comics as art history. It's going to be amazing. He has been building this for months, so... Speaking of this Tuesday, thank you. I have been working on this speech all day. This Tuesday, I will be speaking at the Bishop Museum of History and Science, downtown Bradenton, about the history of comic strips and comic books and the impact they've had on American culture. It is going to be chock full of more information than my brain can contain. But hopefully it's going to be a fun and exciting time. It's really cool. This is a part of their Think and Drink series. So it starts at 6 with the opening of you can go to the Snoopy exhibit, and so you'll see the trip to the Snoopy to the moon exhibit, which talks about Snoopy's work with NASA and space exploration, and so you can see that. You can also purchase drinks because it is the Think and Drink. Now, while you cannot take those drinks into the Snoopy exhibit, you can bring them into the planetarium at 7 p.m. when I start speaking, and so come out and join us. It's going to be so much fun. I'm so excited to speak in the planetarium. I'm so excited to get to talk about the history of comic strips and how they morphed into comics and how the two of those worked like throughout the last 150 years in America, almost. I can't believe we're almost there, but yeah, it's over 100 years of history and impact, and it's gonna be fantastically fun. And if it's not, you don't get your money back. I'm sorry. But yeah, come out. It's gonna be a blast. And thank you to the Bishop for having us. I'm very excited about it. And I guess as a sneak preview, I'm going to spend the next hour telling you all about this week's comic. So it'll be just like what we're gonna do on Tuesday, except its smallest snapshot possible for 1 week. And so we're going to kick that off now with Ice Cream Man issue 40 from Image Comics. And this is part 2 of the car wreck storyline. However, I've told everybody this week, and I hope that people were willing to pick it up, because this is not, you did not have to actually read the first issue to read the second one. While they are more of companion stories than like a direct continuation of the story. But this is all about a truck driver and his truck driving partner as they are making their way across the world, and they are actually going to get into a car accident, which is something we learned in the last issue, but also we learned in the very first page of this. But one of the things that W. Maxwell Prince, the writer of Ice Cream Man, always does is he plays with the medium. And so what he was doing in both issue 39 and issue 40 is talking about the concept of decompression as a storytelling mechanism in comic books. And he is using that as a way to also kind of tell us about the way that we look at our lives and the things that we understand and grow from them and how we decompress that. And so he's telling us about these two characters, one who has spent his whole life wanting to be a writer and, gets rejection. He is our driver of our truck, who is not going to make it, according to page 1 of this story. And we kind of see that experience in his life, but we also see his driving partner, who has a completely different experience, and it just kind of finds himself over the course of this moment. It's a really incredible story, and one of the things that I love that W. Maxwell Prince did, not only, again, teaching those moments and how comics work, but he added the actual story at the back that the driver was working on that he announces to us is going to get published. He actually adds that story. And in typical W. Maxwell Prince fashion, it is literally kind of just the script of the comic and makes you wonder, like, if any of the stuff in the comic happened versus, like, how did it happen? Where did it happen? He makes you rethink everything that you just read in the entire comic and everything you're experienced in your life, because that's what he does. And he does it so wonderfully well with Ice Cream Man. And again, in one of W. Maxwell Prince's books one time, he said that he doesn't know how to end a story, and I hope that for our case that plays in our favor and we never see an end to Ice Cream Man because it's just so good. We've got Transformers issue 10 from Image and the Skybound imprint and our Energon universe. This is your world of Transformers meets G.I. Joe and all things that encompasses. And over the last 10 issues, we have seen the Transformers really dealing with some stuff because they are here on Earth as per Transformer usual. But in this situation, the Decepticons were the ones who got the Energon first, and they're the ones who sparked themselves back to life. And meanwhile, the Autobots have been struggling to kind of put themselves back together again. And as they have slowly become the team that they need to be to fight the Decepticons, they are not winning. This battle is not going well. You know, usually we watch Michael Bay and the Transformers and they blow some stuff up and some lens flares happen and suddenly everything's okay again. But that is not the case with these. We've seen a lot of our Transformer friends fall very early on, and we're continuing to see the rise and fall of Constructicons and everybody as this happens. I'm assuming we're going to see some dinos come in at some point, or we're going to get some Beast Wars, because we've gotten everybody else coming in. We're in this issue, we are kind of dealing with the fallout of the last battle where Optimus left some people behind, and Starscream and all of his evilness is really, really just showing how bad of a leader for the Decepticons he can be in the best way for a villain, I guess. He is definitely going to destroy all of Earth and all of the Autobots in the process. And all the things that Megatron has seemed to fail consistently at in all media that we've ever seen of the Transformers, Starscream seems to not struggle with at all. So we're going to see how that plays out for the humans and the Autobots, because it is, again, not going well. And Daniel Warren Johnson is crushing it on that story. Up next, we've got Saint Mercy. This is Volume 2, which is Godland, number 4 from Image Top Cow. If you didn't know Top Cow was still around, it is. In fact, there's so much more to come. Did you know that Witchblade was coming back in a week? Because it is. But we've got Saint Mercy. This is, like I said, the Godland volume. And so if you didn't read Volume 1 of Saint Mercy, please do, because you're not going to understand what's happening in this volume if you don't. But you should read it because the story is really cool. But it is all about a young girl who is responsible for protecting the gold of the gods, and she has been forced into this role, and as such is immortal, and she's been constantly trying to just make her way through history and just protect this and keep the gods from coming back and killing everybody and doing bad things. And now she is in Hollywood, and she ends up taking a role on a movie set as a person who is, verifying that the guns are accurate and making sure that everything works the way it's supposed to for the Old West, because of course she was there because she is mortal. And in the process of that, we find out that one of the starlets of the movie is actually possessed by the evilness of these gods and is coming for her. And so she has been trying to battle not only for her life, but for the lives of everyone in humanity all at the same time. And this is our wrap-up issue for this volume. Whether or not we'll see more of her could always continue, because, again, you have an immortal character. But we just get a really fun adventure story and a really strong group of female protagonists, which I love to see. We've got Morning Star, issue 4 from Mad Cave. I love this book. I love the aesthetic of this book, the color palettes they choose, the storytelling. We keep saying that Mad Cave, for their 10-year anniversary, decided to pull all the punches and just go for some of their best books ever, and they continue to show that in every way. But this is about a family who The father was a wildfire fighter, and he goes out to stop a forest fire and never returns. And so the mother and the kids have decided to take a vacation into that same forest where the dad never came back from, months later, obviously, when there's no fires going on, and try to get their peace and, say goodbyes. And while they're staying in one of the ranger stations that's not in use anymore, they wake up one morning and the son is gone. He's just, they don't know if he's wandered off or if somebody's stolen him or something. There shouldn't really be anybody else in the woods. And so now the mom is looking in one direction while the daughter is looking in another, all throughout the woods. And they are encountering some crazy wildlife, some visions of people from their past, some really big, like, hallucinatory moments that we just don't know what's real and what isn't. But they are not encountering is the brother. And so they are still on the hunt for him. And that emotional destruction that is coming from everything that they're experiencing while they're in the woods. Is it going to help them heal? Is it going to lead to their demise? Is any of it real? We're going to find out all of that, hopefully, and we'll see what happens. But this has just been a really great look at grief in a very sci-fi horrific kind of way. Monsters Are My Business, issue 4 from Dark Horse. If you've ever wanted to see a chainsaw wielding koala just kick some butt, this is the book for you. This is all about a guy named Grizz who is a bounty hunter in a world where there's a lot of monsters, and he has, as usual with bounty hunters, very few, if any, moral values. And he ends up taking a job from the government that he doesn't want to take to find this monstrous creature that they need really bad. Well, it turns out they wanted him because they think that it's going to open up, he's got like the ability to open up a portal to the gods that can control all of the worlds and all throughout all of time and space. And of course they want their hands on that, but so does everybody else. And now they find themselves in a showdown with this dark queen of her own making that really, really wants to make sure that she's the one that gets this monster, and they are going to battle out for the ability to control it and to determine if, Grizz is actually a good person or not at the end of the day. It's just a fun story of just ridiculous hijinks and choices being made. So if you're just looking for something fun and kind of lighthearted humor in the midst of action, that's going to be your book. Oh my gosh. On the thing that you think is going to be your lighthearted humor, but it's going to actually be one of the deepest books you're going to pick up, is called The Motor Mountain. And this is issue 4. This is the wrap-up of this story from IDW. And when I tell you the premise, you're going to see why I said what I said. This is about two brothers who are meth dealers who are trying to create like this perfect score that they can, get out of the job and go and move to Ohio. They're trying to move to Cincinnati. And they really just want to get out of this world. And in the process of creating their meth, a meteor crashes into their lab and it destroys everything. And they're like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? So they decide to do the only thing that anybody could possibly do, which is chop up the meteor and sell that as their new line. And so they end up taking it to all of the dealers in the area. But what they do find out is that basically if you inhale this stuff, you're going to turn into a gigantic, crazy, creepy monster. And you're gonna start like becoming a rage beast. And one of the brothers is forced in the very early issue to take that his own supply to show that it's not tainted in any way. And so he has been, over the course of the last 4 issues, turning into this monster. But he's determined to not let go of his humanity long enough to help his brother survive. The fact that the cops are coming after him and all of the drug dealers are coming after him. And he wants to help his brother get through. But in this issue, we learn all about the younger brother and everything that he has endured to, get to this point in his life. And how he's kind of always been the one that let his brother stick up for him and kind of take that back seat in actually doing any of the living so that his brother can protect him at all times. And we're going to see, how that impacts him and how he's able to do that. Seriously, every time I read this series, I'm like, how did that get so deep out of such a ridiculous concept? But it really does, and it's so well done. And if you haven't read it yet, grab all 4 issues right now and just read it, because it is surprisingly good and deep within there. Because you wouldn't think drug-induced rage monsters made out of a meth meteor would be one of the deepest books on the shelf right now. But you know what? You're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn a lot about psychology too, because there's some deep prose pieces in there that really just bring it home. We've got Dawn Runner issue 4 from Dark Horse Comics. This is a world where these giant kaiju, Titan-esque monsters, this very Attack on Titan size monster kind of things, coming your way, and they're attacking our world. And so we've created, of course, mech suit humans who can go in and fight against them, and we've gotten to the point where, for the most part, they've got it all under control. But as whenever we think we've got nature under control, nature fights back, and we find ourselves dealing with some new titans that are coming to attack the world, and viruses that are coming out of these monstrous animals that are coming. And our main mech fighter, who is always the one that kind of saves the day and also makes some money because they've corporatized fighting against these monsters. She is now kind of losing her mind, because the mech that they've put her into and the mind control of it has actually gotten her wrapped up in the brain of somebody who used to be a part of that mech suit and used to be a part of this fight. And so now she's seeing the world through his eyes and his time period, and is kind of finding herself trapped in between worlds of his and hers. And the ultimate kaiju monster things are attacking, and whether or not she's going to make it out is going to be whether or not she can solve his problems and her problems before it's too late. This is just another one of those great Ron V stories where he takes a concept and just really humanizes the elements within it. So definitely check that one out. We've got Dead Weights issue 4 from Ahoy Comics. I always love Ahoy and everything they bring out, and this is just another great story from them. This is about 2 guys who were supervillains, and in the very first issue, one of the guys is like, you know what, I kind of don't want to be a villain anymore. Let's try to be heroes. And his friend's like, okay, whatever, I'm with you wherever you go. The heroes won't accept them because they're like, no, you've always been villains. You're the bad guys. We don't trust you. And they just really want to find a way to live this normal life. Well, some people offer them an opportunity to become a part of a hero team, but it turns out to be fake, and it's all just a way to entrap them, research on them, hopefully kill them. They ended up getting away, and now here we are in issue 4, and they are trying to actually just live normal lives. They're one of the guys is a mail courier, and the other one is working in a sandwich shop, and has become known as the guy with the best sandwiches who can always come up with something. And he's made friends with this sweet little girl, but the people that were after them don't want to let that go, and they have come back with a vengeance to try to stop them. And an ultimate showdown is brewing, and there's some twists and turns that come from that are going to leave us opening up this world to where maybe they're actually going to get the chance to be the heroes that they so want to be, or maybe they're going to have to actually strike back in a way only villains can. We're going to find out. We've got Geiger issue 4 from Image and Ghost Machine, which is the new imprint from Jeff Johns and friends. So many of them, but so far we have been focusing on the Jeff Johns stories coming out. And you may remember Geiger because it has been coming out since around 2020. But this is Jeff has kind of given us a new launch point for everybody who hasn't gotten into it with a whole new story. But Geiger is a man in the future in a world where radiation has kind of poisoned everything, and he has consumed a lot of it and has now become the glowing man, as they call him. And he's just kind of this vigilante that goes through the world and says he's, not interested in helping people, but helps people everywhere he goes. And he has recently in this arc teamed up with a man who is a knight, or at least that's how he's been protecting himself and portraying himself. And honestly, like, issue 3 was my favorite so far because it was all about the importance of books and how we can never get rid of them, even in like this wasteland. Like, all he really wants, like Geiger really wants to find his books. But he is after a cure and ways to kind of regain his life. And in this issue, we see the fallout of the knight going to try to find the book for Mr. Geiger, as he calls him, and the fact that somebody was able to follow them and possibly create a John Wick style scenario for Geiger, in which he is going to have to go against everybody and anything to try to save his dog that has been stolen from him. And we're going to see how that plays out in the next issue. But we're definitely getting to see a lot more of Geiger as the human in this arc than we ever have before, and we're really starting to see him develop as a character, which is going to be a big thing for the fact that Geoff Johns is building an entire universe that he calls the Unnamed Universe. And I believe, yeah, there is I'd stop that.
There you go.
That's the first time that's happened in 7 years of doing this show.
I don't think you've ever done it. Yeah.
I've never dropped a book before, so wow. This is the timeline that he has created. So if you want to see like how each of the books that Geoff Johns is going to be putting out fit into the Geiger universe, this is going to be your little map that's going to guide you through that. Sorry, Geiger. All right, we've got The Whisper Queen. This is a Black Sand tale. This is issue 3 from Chip Zdarsky and Image Comics. And this is, I actually thought that this was only going to be 3 issues, and then it technically is, but it also just opened up like this whole big universe to keep this world going. And so we have been following a story that Chip Zdarsky brought out a long time ago, and kind of revived here. And so this is about 2 women who are trying to currently find their daughter, who has been taken into like the service of the military essentially, and is being forced to go on a hunt for the Whisper Queen. And they're like, if the Whisper Queen finds her, or any of them, like, they're all going to die. Nobody's gonna make it. This is our fault. Like, we're connected to this story. We have to go and kind of try to save her. And so in this issue, we've seen them team up over the last couple with the people from the previous story that Chip Zdarsky had done. And now those 2 worlds are crossing together, and they have found their daughter, and they're like, okay, we have to go, we have to do, you know, all these things, but they are not quick enough. And the world opens up, and the darkness and the Whisper Queen come, and we learn some really big things about this group and about where this family started and where it's going. And so if you're just looking for a really high fantasy story done by Chip Zdarsky, this is going to be the one for you. It's so cool to see him build out a big world, and the fact that he's doing it in like these little like 2 to 3 issue minis, it kind of feels like the way Hellboy is done a little bit, and builds out these big worlds in the process. We've got Biomex, issue 3 from Black Box Comics. This is, if you're enjoying Transformers, honestly, this is another one of those like mech books that you should probably like pick up. I know the Transformers aren't technically mechs because they have robots, but these kind of feel, these people live in their mech suits completely and totally, so it feels more Transformers than it does like Dawn Runner. But this is 2 siblings who are a part of a world that, like I said, everybody kind of lives in these mech suits and fights for these different things, and it's very futuristic, and they have come to the point where they have lost the war for their survival, and the only thing that they can do is at this point go back in time to when the war kind of was in its early stages. But the only way they can do that is by merging together into this like hyper mech that only twins can do. And so these 2 siblings have done that and are now traveling through time. And what they learn when they get back is that the only way that they're going to actually complete this mission is if they get the info they need and then decommission another mech. And they're like, we don't want to do that. Like, that's killing them. We don't want to kill a person. We don't want to kill a mech. We can't decommission them. And so they have to learn, like, sometimes you have to make really tough choices in order to save the day. And they're like, we don't know how to fight this war in the way that we want to. Like, we never signed up to do these kinds of things. And they're like, yeah, but you know, live or die. You're going to fall at the hands of that choice. And so, again, it's very much like, kind of feels like that Transformers, the action level's kind of in the same state. So if you're a fan of those kinds of books, this is going to be another good one to fill in, like, on those weeks where you don't have it. Crocodile Black, issue 3 from Boom Studios. Dear gosh, is this book so good and so dark. Oh my gosh. This is all about a young boy who is really spiraling really fast. He is working as like a delivery person and ends up going into a house one day and finding that the person in there is dead, and it kind of really just plays to this part of his brain that has never really felt at ease. And so he's now like taken to living in this house. He talks to this man. He's been reading all his war journals, and he's kind of partially taking on this identity. If you ever actually read the Dexter novels that the show is based off of, this is very similar to those in the way that they actually use the dark passenger element that you see in the Dexter show of somebody kind of having that conversation with the darkness that's inside of them and giving into it, and just kind of not knowing the difference between the blurred lines of their own reality and of what is actually happening. And so in issue 2, he ends up going into a bar, and he's kind of trying to present himself as this guy whose house he's taken, and in that process, he ends up beating up a guy in the bar, and another person who works for the local mobsters is like, hey, we could use a guy like you. And so now he's been assigned to go into a pharmacy and rough up somebody, but his idea of a line and morality is getting really shady, and so he's not really sure if he wants to do it, and he's not really sure if he knows how to stop once he starts. Meanwhile, we're also seeing his family story back home and them trying to find him and what happened that led him there. And it's very interesting, like all the layers of the puzzle that are coming together and what we're starting to learn about this family and where we've come to get there. I have no idea where Philip Kennedy Johnson is going to take this book, but I have a feeling it's only going to get darker before we get to the end, and I can't imagine that there's a happy resolution at the end of this, but dear gosh, is he writing a great story. Ain't No Grave, issue 3 from Image Comics, and we've got the team who did Middle West returning to us in Scotty Young, Jorge Corona, John Francis Bellew. The whole gang is all back. And this is just another really beautiful story that I'm kind of obsessed with right now. This is about a woman who was a bandit in the Old West, like total thief, like the shady person, the role that like usually would go to like Clint Eastwood in a movie. And then she settles down with a man who she falls in love with, and they have a kid, and they start like having this perfect life. She gives up everything that she's used to doing, and then one day she finds out that she's sick and she's dying, and she's like, this is crap. Like, I have never lost, and I will never lose to anybody, including death. I said nobody's taking me from my family, so I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen. So she sets off on an adventure to go to the other side, to kill death and regain her life the way that she wants it to be. And we are seeing all of these adventures. And in this issue, she ends up on a boat, which is a gambling boat on the other side. So she is trying to earn like her mark to get through to death. And she must take on the woman who, if you lose your card game to her, your soul is trapped forever on her boat working. And she is not above cheating, and so she is like, I'm going to figure out a way to do it. And we get to see some backstory into her life and her connections with her husband in the process, and it's just so freaking good. Man, I love Scotty Young the writer. I know everybody like loves Scotty Young the artist. I love Scotty Young the writer. I think that is really where he flourishes, and he just nails it every time. And if you're not reading this, do yourself a favor and just pick it up, because it's so good. All right, we've got Deathstalker issue 3 from Vault Comics, and a guy you may know by the giant hat that he wears, Slash. I feel like more people know him at this point by his hat than his actual like guitar playing. But this is your sword and sorcery, your like classic like 80s Deathstalker story returned to you. And it is a big giant mess of a human is all I'm gonna say. For those of you who are fans of Conan and you just kind of want a guy who doesn't have it as together as that man, Deathstalker is definitely the one for you. And I should make sure. Okay, he goes to a lot of brothels, so I have to check the pages. But in this issue, he and his friend, who is a pig, who he calls Snort Snort because he doesn't know how to pronounce his name, are in a bar and they get kicked out because they're drunkards. And in the process of that, he does end up, like I said, in a brothel and finds out that there is somebody who is once again after him, as there always is with Deathstalker. And he lures them to the home of a princess who is technically his ex-wife. And he finds out that, like, he needs to save these children, and he's trying to do the right thing. He always kind of tries to do the right thing, but, like, in the most vile way possible. Anyway, he ends up in some epic battle, as usual, as per the requirements of a sword and sorcery story. And we kind of see him squaring off against not only the people who are after him, but the evil wizard, essentially, that is ruling over the kingdom that his ex is supposed to be in charge of. See, sword and sorcery. We managed to nail both of them in one issue. Congratulations, Slash. I'm so proud of you. But we do get an epic battle, and we are going to see how that plays out. And this is going to be the last issue of at least this volume of Deathstalker for you. So if you want to see more, definitely let them know. But this is this is just a fun, again, for fans of Conan and Barbaric. Like, if you like Vault's Barbaric story and you like Conan, this is the exact center point of those two. I mean, it's just cool that Slash had a hand in it. We've got Monolith, issue 3 from Image and your Spawn universe. This is the story of Monolith, who is one of your mini hell spawns. And it kind of starts out like it does start out with him in prison, and he is trying to break out, and he is trying to go after the people the other spawns who have been making his life a living hell. And in this issue, he is actually in that final boss battle kind of situation, except what he thinks is the final boss battle is not, because there's always another one. And so he finds out from a future spawn that he has more of a battle to come, and it's going to lead us into I'm going to show you that. Okay, it's going to lead us into wherever Todd McFarlane is taking this giant thing that he is doing with Spawn. He has been releasing everything, like going to get us up to 10 Spawn titles at least, and then there's going to be this massive Spawnverse crossover, I'm sure, because we're getting all of these, return of all of these people, and seeing them kind of all end up in the same place out of these miniseries. So Monolith is heading to Earth. Maybe this is an origin. Maybe it is a prequel. It's kind of going to fall into all of those things. He definitely sets it up really well for what is going to happen. And so if you are a Spawn fan, your universe is expanding. You need to check all of the titles. And don't worry, again, they're miniseries, so you're not going to be like, oh, I have to buy 10 Spawn titles for the next 7 years. No. You're just getting little miniseries of all your characters to set up whatever it is that Todd's bringing us in the future. We've got Moon Man issue 3 from Image Comics and your Black Market Narrative imprint, which is the world of Radiant Black. This does not connect to that at the moment, as per usual, but the most interesting facts about everything in this is that this is written by Kid Cudi. So if you are a fan of Kid Cudi the rapper and you didn't know he is a massive comic book fan, now you do. And he is working on this series right now, which is about these 3 people who are astronauts, and they go out into space, and while they're there, the usual, something happens, goes wrong, they get kind of lost for a little bit, nobody knows what happens with those 8 minutes that they're lost in space, but now they come back and they all got powers, and we are following one guy who, it's kind of just him and his little brother, who's a teenager at this point left, and so he's trying to do his best to show up and be there for his little brother, but he's got superpowers now, and his little brother knows that, and so his little brother's like, nah, man, you gotta do the right thing, you gotta be a hero, we need you in our community, we need you to step up and do stuff. And he's not really sure that that's who he wants to be, and he also definitely doesn't want to get somebody like coming down on his little brother. And so he is kind of trying to step back from that as much as possible, because he's already been seen by the people that sent him out into space, and they are like, hey, you're our property and all of your powers are our property, so we're bringing you in, and we're going to make you do whatever it is that we want you to do, and it's gonna, you know, it's corporate greed coming down on him as he's trying to do the right thing. And whether or not he's gonna stand up and fight or you know, kind of lose it all, we're gonna see. But if you're a fan of the Radiant Black world, this is definitely very much in line with the style. Kyle Higgins is the co-writer on this, so of course we're seeing that, and we're probably gonna see Moon Man in some massive verse crossovers, because he is sitting in that universe now. It's super cool. We've got Love Me, a romance story, and this is issue 3 from Mad Cave, and this is so good. I love it because you get Stefano Cardacelli art, which is always fantastic, and we do get to see some little like snippets of Don't Spit in the Wind, like homages or connection points, which is super cool in this story, which is, you know, Stefano's story he also did for Mad Cave recently. But this is a beautiful love story slash, you know, mobster kind of story. It's all about a robot who is in a world where they're over robots. They don't want them to exist anymore. Like, they're kind of like, you know, pushed out aside. And he is a taxi cab driver. And one day he meets a woman who he absolutely thinks is just the perfect person for him. And they are supposed to go on a date. And in the very first issue, all of that is when it's happening. And she doesn't show up for the date. And we find out that something bad may have happened, or at least that's what our robot friend believes. And so he is determined to find her and save her. And so he finds out she's connected to some mobsters, and he ends up going in and trying to battle against all of them. And now he is like single-handedly going to take down the mob, if that's what it takes, to find this woman who may or may not be the love of his life. We don't know yet, but we are getting a beautiful story as he tries to figure it out. One of my favorite moments in this entire issue, let me see if I can go back and find it, because I think I already missed it. Maybe not. One of my favorite moments is that his book is narrated by his cat. And there's a point in there where he tells one of his friends, like, hey, I need you to, you know, make sure my cat gets fed. Please take care of my buddy. It's like 11 pages in, or like 18 pages in. There we go. The cat's like, he's like, please take care of my buddy. He needs to make sure he's fed. And then it like it flips to the cat, and the cat's like, so mad that he's not home, like, and is so worried about him, but then is also like, also I haven't eaten yet today, and that's really rude, like, how dare he not come home and feed me. And I just, as a cat owner, it's true, like, your cat is like half like, I love you, I miss you, where are you, and half like, I swear to God, if you don't feed me right now, I'm gonna eat you. And it's adorable, and I love it. And also he's like, I'm the narrator of this book, and I haven't appeared in the book the whole time. This is crap. Anyway, if you have a cat, I'm going to love your book if he's not the bad guy. So, you know, way to go. We have Profane, issue 2 from Boom Studios. I love this book as well. This is another great one. It's a great week for comics. And I know I say that every week, but you know what? I just really love comic books. So I'm never lying to you. I have been waiting for this issue, though, because issue 1 was such a good twist. And it's so hard for me to talk about this book because I never want to ruin it. But because issue 1 was so cool, and I don't want to ruin the twist, but I don't know how to talk about the book without it. But anyway, this is about a guy who is a detective, and he's like a super amazing, incredible detective. And in issue 1, he is trying to solve a case, and suddenly he finds himself sitting at a bar, and he's like, I don't know how I got here. Wasn't I investigating a case? And when he goes back to try to figure out where he was and what was happening, he realizes that he's now going to have to investigate the case of why he doesn't remember what he was investigating. And he realizes some very important things about himself. And so basically now he's investigating this mystery that is 100% completely and totally tied to him in a way that I'm not going to tell you because you have to read the book. But if you are a fan of classic detective stories, this gives you a great one with a really, really good twist. It's so much fun. It's such an interesting concept while also still giving you all of the detective tropes. And I love it so much. It's so good. And I can't wait to see how it goes. And the layers that they keep adding on in every issue of blending just this reality that we know and this reality that our main character knows is just getting so cool the way they're doing it. I'm just going to tell you right now, in a month from now, when Profane 3 comes out, I'm gonna spoil the whole thing probably because I can't keep going without telling you the twist to the story much longer because it's so necessary to know what's happening in the book. So this is your warning. You have until mid-August to go out and read Profane 1 and Profane 2 before I probably accidentally and totally completely on purpose spoil what the twist is in issue 3. So that's your warning. You got it now. Go read issue 1 and 2. I can't help you anymore after that if you don't. We've got Vengeance is for the Living issue 2 from Floating World Comics. This is a massive square-bound book that is super cool. It's just a classic revenge story in one of the best ways. Issue 1 kind of felt like a 70s movie, and issue 2 just continues to pull that even further. But this is a story of a woman who, in issue 1, finds out that she wakes up in a coma, and she finds out that basically her husband and her kids, as far as everybody knows, have been killed, and she can't speak. Her throat was cut, and so she wouldn't tell anybody what happened, and she also doesn't really remember, and she's slowly piecing it back together. And in issue 1, her sister comes, and her sister's that special forces military ops person who is I'm here to help protect you. And she's I don't need protecting. They need protecting. And at the end of issue 1, the bad guys find out that she's been released and she's at home. So they come after her again. And her sister kind of take them down. And she's that's it. I'm not going to sit around and wait. I know these people took out my babies. And I know that they hurt my husband and killed him too. I'm going after them. And so now she's going after everybody in the mob, doing it all on her own, going after drug lords with just her and her sister, and they get real vicious real fast, and it's absolutely fantastic. Seriously, you got to check it out. Issues 1 and 2, like I said, are square bound, so you're getting a ton of story for your money when you grab them, and it's just a wild ride to see these women destroy things. And I honestly I just want to see them attack everybody. I can't wait. This is going to be great. Take them all out. And again, ruthlessly and viciously. Let's go. We've got Falling in Love on the Path to Hell, issue 2 from Image Comics. And this is another one that was super popular for issue 1. Everybody was coming out for it and was really excited about it. And I hope that they continued with issue 2 because it was such a good story. But in issue 1, we met our two main characters. One who is a cowboy in the Old West who, does whatever he wants, kind of always gets his way, shoots the bad guys, shoots the good guys, doesn't really matter. He's just kind of doing his thing. And then we met a woman who was essentially a samurai in feudal Japan. And the two of them both find themselves unable to win a battle. And they wake up on this island where they are met by a man who's hey, welcome to hell, essentially. And they're oh my gosh, are we actually in hell? And he's well, no, you would probably call it purgatory. In my culture, we believe there's multiple levels of hell. And so I think I'm just on one of them. And so they are now on this island, and we learn in this issue that you're kind of stuck there forever. Or, maybe somebody will make it out someday. It doesn't seem like anybody has. There's all of these people who they say you either fight with them or against them because there's all these ghoulish creatures that they have to fight to survive. And this guy, the self-proclaimed leader of the island, is you pick your sides. But if you want to not become one of them, you better fight with us. And so we see some big monsters, we see some ghouls, we see all kinds of things, and we see our characters still kind of at each other's throats and not understanding each other because, she doesn't speak English and he only speaks jerk. And so we're going to see how they fall in love on this path to hell. We're still going to wait and find out, but it's going to be a wild, adventurous ride in the process, and I can't wait to see how this journey goes for both of our characters, because there's going to be a lot of growth that is necessary for these two to come to this point of the title, but it's going to be a great story as we go. We've got Cult of the Lamb, issue 2 from Oni Press, and adorableness incarnate. This is all about a little lamb who is actually sent to be said sacrificial lamb. And there's these heretics, essentially, who are like, oh, we have to get rid of all the lambs because there's this prophecy that they're going to rise up against us, and we can't have that happen. And so they think they have killed the last one, but when he ends up dead on the other side, there is a god who offers him the chance of vengeance if he comes back to the land of the living and starts a cult for him. And he's like, yeah, I don't care about your stupid cult. I just want my revenge. And so this adorable creature has come back with the power to kill all the things and is now doing all of the things to kill all the things. But also people are, in fact, building the cult that he is supposed to build. And it is so ridiculously, wonderfully adorable. And so he's, again, not really much in favor of this cult thing. He is just after his revenge, but he's happy that there is going to be people who are going to be there with him, except in this issue, he meets a seer who checks his cards and finds that somebody is going to betray him, and he doesn't want to believe that any of his friends or followers would do such a thing to him, but we know it's probably going to happen. And our cute little lamb is going to possibly lose it all. If he doesn't build the cult, he's going to lose it all. So he doesn't really have much of a choice. We're going to see how it plays out for him. It is based on the video game. So if you have ever played the video game Cult of the Lamb, and you're like, I know this, I know what it is. This is it. This is your comic adaptation of said universe. We've got Precious Metal issue 2. This is from Image Comics. This is from the world of Little Bird. I will say this is a prequel. So this is 35 years before Little Bird. So even if you haven't read Little Bird, you can jump in. It is, so far, we are following the story of a man and who is like stuck in the middle of all this battle and all of this darkness and everything, and he's not good at making choices, I will say that. And we see him with a woman who is named Naomi, and he's absolutely in love with her and wants to make sure that he does all right by her, but he is making all of the wrong choices. And he's gone off into this battle to find this kid that everybody's after, and he's like, oh, we have to save this kid, we have to stop them. And him and his partner that he's on this ship with are like, we're going to stop this, we're going to end it. And they go through this whole battle, and as they're doing it, he thinks he is getting closer to that decision. And we see some flashbacks of his story with Naomi and everything that means something to him about that. And then as we enter into the second half of the book, everything kind of changes very, very quickly. His decision-making process leads to more death and destruction than he may intend it to in his own line of his own team, and now he is kind of stuck with just this one person. And I'm not going to show you the rest because, like I said, a lot of things happen very quickly. This is a great way to get into what this universe is all about. If you did want to read Little Bird, it's a great way to see, because again, this does happen so far into the future, or so far before that story happened. But if you are a fan of Little Bird and you didn't know this is out, you definitely want to grab that. I'm going to take another drink of our Cupcake Black Forest wine. It's just so nice. It's just such a light, dark wine. I don't know how that...
Light but full flavor.
Yeah. We've got Vigia, issue 2 from Band of Bards. This is a double issue, so you're getting 2 and 3. Really, you're getting 3 and 4 because issue 1 was a double issue as well. It has been a long time since we had number 1. So if you totally forgot that you read this book, that's understandable. They're even like calling it, like saying like, hey, we're relaunching it. Like, sorry it took so long on the back of the book. But this is about a young girl who is a science officer, and she is sent out to investigate this like lost city and kind of get it back to connection to the rest of the realm that she's a part of. And while she's there, she's got her her little companion, who is Addie, which is just like an AI entity and kind of like her robot that helps her through things. And they think they are doing their best to kind of put this all together. But while they're there is suddenly like these almost oh my gosh, what is the movie? I was gonna say, no, it's not iZombie. I Am Legend. There's almost these like I Am Legend like creatures. Like, are they vampires? Are they zombies? Like, what are they, like hanging out inside of all the buildings and under the like in the like under realm of the world, like the subterranean parts of the world. And they don't discover them until this dog comes out that seems to have some kind of infection, and it is, you know, attacking her name is Gazala. They're attacking her and Addie, and they're trying to figure out everything that's going on. And that's when they realize that there's this massive infection that spread through this planet, and maybe that's like what happened and what's going on. And they find all these people, and they just don't know if they're going to be able to get the city back online like they're supposed to, or also like what happened to all the people, and whether or not they're going to be able to get away is going to definitely be a huge thing for issue 3, because when you get to the back half of this book, there is no help and there is no way out, and we're gonna see if she makes it, and I'm very nervous for her. We've got Barfly issue 1 from Dark Horse Comics, and this is from The World of Minor Threats, which is Patton Oswalt and Jordan Blum's big super villain universe. I was gonna say superhero universe, but it's definitely all about the villains, and it's actually Minor Threats because it's about all the minor villains who never get the attention. If you didn't read Minor Threats, that's okay. You can totally just jump in and right here and get to know this character. Wherever we go in the future, I think you're going to need to know a little bit about it, but this is a fun way to just meet Barfly, who is literally a fly. And he is struggling because he was a henchman for a minor villain. And now that villain in Minor Threats was put into prison. And so now he's kind of on his own. And he's just trying to like live his life. And he's so excited because these guys that he works with ask him to like rob a place with them. And he's like, yes, that's what I'm good at. And so he goes in with them and does all the work to help them rob the bank. And he's so stoked about it because he thinks he has friends, only to find out that, like, they have no intention of sharing the money with him. And he's like, oh. And so he goes back to some of his other friends and he's like, it turns out that they didn't like me. And, you know, so he just goes back to his day job working at a restaurant, which they even say is definitely a sanitation violation. So it's super funny. But it's a great little character, and it's a great segue for that universe. If you, like I said, if you didn't come at it from the beginning, because all he really wants is to like get a guitar and be a rock star now. Like, he's just trying to find a place for himself. It's so cute. It's, you know, you never get to see the stories of the henchmen who didn't get the recognition the whole time, so it's kind of nice because it's just like, what about all the goons and the goon squad people? If their villain was gone, like, what would they do? Like, where would Bebop and Rocksteady go, like, without the Shredder, like, you know, kind of thing. And you're getting that in this, and it's just super cute because he's kind of so wholesome and you just want him to be happy. We've got The Domain issue 1 from Image, and technically Dallas Comics, which is a made-up imprint, because this is the story from Public Domain. So if you've read Chip Zdarsky's Public Domain, you know that there was this massive universe that was being that had been created a long time ago by essentially like Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, and we find out that the rights to it actually did all belong to Jack Kirby the whole time. And so now he is, and that's not obviously his name because of, you know, laws, but this man is now teaming up with his sons and an assistant to write a story. And in issue 6 of Public Domain, we learned that they wanted to take that classic hero and mix it up a little bit. And so what they did was they decided instead of having one hero that had the power, that they were going to give it to multiple people, kind of solving the problem of everybody wanting to do something completely different. And so in this issue, in this series that we're going to see, we're actually going to get the comic that they are writing as if it was its own comic, which is super duper cool. I feel like this is like straight out of the Dave Pilkey model. You know, you write a story about people making a comic book, and then suddenly Dogman becomes the biggest book in the world. So, you know, maybe that will work out for Chip Zdarsky too, and the Domain will become like everybody's favorite superheroes. But the Domain themselves, focusing on this story, this is about 3 people who just are really obsessed with space. And one day when they're out space watching, they find an alien spaceship crash lands onto the Earth, and they are able to kind of recover the tech. And now they are each sharing the power that this alien tech came between the 3 of them, and are trying to make some fun choices on how to become heroes and save the day, including some fun choices about what to do with the aliens. So again, it's really fun. I think Chip Zdarsky getting to make a superhero book that he's like half removed from is kind of a really cool way to do it. But check it out. If you are reading Public Domain, you absolutely need to read The Domain. The Human Fly is back from IPI Comics with our zero issue? Yes, our 0 issue to kind of get us up and going. And so this is going to take us into a news story from the Human Fly, and then a couple of news stories, I guess I should say, from the Human Fly. But the Human Fly was a stuntman who decided to kind of use his powers of stunt skills and acrobatics to become a superhero. And he has returned to comics in this daring adventure where he is working with a group of people, and he's supposed to, like, he's like, we're all in this together, we're all superheroes, here's like the world that we're going to create. And it turns out that not all of them have good intentions, and they may only be there to try to discover the Human Fly's secrets and figure out like what it is that he is up to, and how they can kind of steal that for themselves. And then we do get an additional story that is about a woman who, let me flip back there. I have to show you this like Evel Knievel stunt kind of scene really fast because it's so cool. He like has to like throw the motorcycle, do the stunts kind of thing to get this key that then like explodes and does all this stuff. Done. There we go. So we see this the story of the woman who works for the local newspaper that kind of covers the story of the Human Fly as our backup, and we are going to see essentially like a Lois Lane development for him, and how she's going to get entangled into the Human Fly's world because she gets some information that is given to her that everybody is after, and so she hasn't even like opened it and experienced the information before all of the bad guys come for her, and so she's going to get swept up into the Human Fly's world very quickly, and we're going to see probably the connection of those 2 characters and that story grow a little bit more when we get our first issue of the official series. We've got the launch of Soul Taker, this #1 from Mad Cave. I'm so excited about this series. This was such a fun read. This is essentially like, what if Joan of Arc was immortal and we were seeing where she was now? Because it's all about a woman who is an elderly woman, but she is actually immortal. And one of the things that she does is everywhere she lives, she's kind of like in hiding, but she's finally found a place where she feels like she can make some friends with people in her community. But what she has to do is she has to go once a week to deliver a blood sample and a hair sample to this mysterious organization. And it's supposed to be they will leave her alone if she provides that for them forever. And in this issue, in our launch point, you get the young girl who comes in to try to take over this mysterious organization, and she's fresh in and she thinks she knows what she's doing, and she tries to do an attack to bring in our Soul Taker, and she is not having it, and we get to see her kick some butt and fight these people and take them all down, and she is so cool. And it's like, hey, you came for me, you weren't supposed to do that, Now I have to destroy all of you, and you're going to see why they call me the Soul Taker and why I've been around for as long as I have and what this, like, immortal life could lead to. And so we're going to see where that's going to go as the story unfolds. I'm very excited. Again, if they're going to at some point probably tell us that this is Joan of Arc or something, or the woman Joan of Arc is based off of, totally feels like that is where this is going, but we haven't actually, like, given it a name just yet, but pretty sure. I'm so in. I just love seeing her kick butt. It's gonna be great. And I would not be surprised if that is the book that's on the Mad Cave talent search next year, just because it's gonna open up a really giant universe. Speaking of giant universes opening up at Mad Cave, we've got Galactor #1, which is part of your Gotcha Man universe. This is Steve Orlando writing the story from the villain's point of view with this new adventure. And so we're going to see a lot of this from Gotcha Man. We're going to see a lot of miniseries, a lot of one-shots, and then, of course, the main Gotcha Man title. But this is all about our bad guy. And you know, being that middleman, like, he's like, I'm kind of the guy that, like, represents the Empire. Like, I'm the big bad guy as far as everybody knows, but I'm actually not. I have, like, the guy that's above me, and nobody kind of really takes me as seriously as I want them to take me. And so it's, like, actually, like, super introspective of a villain, and not surprising because it is Steve Orlando writing it. But he's like, I'm the leader. I want all of the things I want. And honestly, like, what ends up happening is somebody tries to poison his food. And he's like, I have to do this investigation myself on who is trying to poison me and figure out what is happening. And so he goes on this investigation against all of the people, like his cooks and his servers and all of that, to try to figure out who's coming for him and why, and if they've kind of figured out more of his secret. But he is like, I am your bad guy and I will destroy you. And so we get to just kind of see that and see that growth of this character. I don't know the Gotcha Man universe, I will be honest, but everybody that does is picking these books up and loving them. I'm loving them as somebody who's fresh to it. I always love everything Steve Orlando writes, and I love the twist that he puts on things. So this was just it was funny and heartfelt and a completely different way to look at a villain story. And I love that for it. But, like, as somebody who doesn't know Gotcha Man's universe, like, I am really excited to see where all of these stories go, and I'm happy to see that all of the Gotcha Man fans, after those first couple issues of the series launched, you know, they came running back in for this one because they were so excited about what's happening. So they're very happy with how the universe is going, and I hope that this continues to grow out for them and for all of us who are learning about it for the first time. All right, I've got 3 picks of the week this week. First up, we've got Kill All Immortals #1 from Dark Horse. I'm super excited for this book. It was such a cool, unique concept, and yet, like, exactly in line with so many of the other things. Also, the fact that I have 2 books by Zach Kaplan in my picks of the week is not surprising because I love Zach Kaplan as a writer. But this book opens up with us kind of seeing just, like, what looks like 2 mob families going after each other, and kind of learning that, you know, if you get in the way of this one family, they will take you down, and everybody kind of hates them for that. But then we jump over to a younger woman, or seemingly, like, you mean, like, in her 30s, I guess I should say. She's not young, but she, we find out, is the daughter of this mob family, and she has made her choice to kind of be the good person out in the world. And she's at, like, one charity event, and she, like, doesn't want any recognition. She just wants to, like, give all the money. And then she's doing all this work essentially with, like, the Peace Corps, kind of helping refugees. And in the process of traveling through the area with the reporter that is kind of with her on this adventure, they get captured, and these people are coming after them, and something happens, and she is able to, like, take them all out, and he has no idea why. And she's like, look, the only thing we can do is go back to my family at this point. And he's like, your family, like, they're dangerous, like, nobody should be in touch with your family, isn't that what you always say? And she's like, yeah, but that's the only choice we have. And so then we get to meet the family, and it's so cool. We are gonna get to see this these immortal, like, mobsters, essentially, who have been at this since, like, the day of the Vikings, and you're gonna see who they are and how they're connected to all of that as you read the story. But I am super, super, super excited to see where this story goes. It's gonna be such a good action, thrill, heartfelt story. I mean, Zach Kaplan's gonna he always does all of the things, stacks them on so well, and it's gonna be so good, and I'm super stoked to see where this is gonna take us. So happy. You look like you're about to say something.
Looks like it says Kill AI.
It does kind of look like it says Kill AI on the cover, which is probably on purpose as well. And then I guess to that point, we have Beyond Real, issue 5 from Vault and Zach Kaplan. This is the end of this series, and honestly, I literally text Matt at the end of this book to be like, I love you. And like, I just need to say that after reading this story. But this is the story of a woman named June who is in love with a man, and they have this happy, beautiful, wonderful relationship that existed pre the story ever starting, because in the very first issue, after a beautiful night of them just hanging out, they get in a car accident, and they both end up in this like comatose state. And June wakes up, and they're like, hey, just so you know, like, your partner's not waking up, like, we don't know what's gonna happen. And she's like, I will not stand for that. So she goes through the simulation that the world is, essentially, and like, which is something her partner always told her, is that the world was a simulation. And so she finds herself inside of it, looking for the ultimate creator, who she can face to face have a conversation with about how she needs to save her partner, and how he needs to be able to return to the world. And we see they have used so many different artists on this book, because every different place that they go into in the simulation has a different art style, which is really incredibly cool way to do it. And she does finally get to experience the creator in this issue and come face to face with them and all of the things that she's dealing with. I mean, it's an absolute incredible way to talk about doubt and despair and grief, and how we process things, and how we have to learn who we are within those things, and how we learn to face those things in the world and beyond. It's such a good book. Oh my gosh. And just the wrap up of it was just absolutely beautiful. And honestly, like, half of it, I can't tell you what's real and what isn't. I don't even really care. I just know that the book was amazing, and Zach Kaplan is awesome. And, he should win a ton of awards for all of the great books that he put out. Like, if Zach Kaplan's not on, like, best writers at next year's Eisner's after all of the great books he's put out in, like, this year and even last year, like, I'm gonna be really surprised. Like, we got to put some more writers in that list, and we need to see some of them, and this is definitely one of the ones that I want to see. He's really just climbing up in all of those books that he's putting out. I mean, the Mindset made my best books of 2022, so I mean, I'm gonna keep going with this until people 2022, 2023, whichever year that was. It was 2022, right? Anyway, love it. People read it. And then lastly, last pick of the week, last book to talk about is The Return of the Hunger in the Dusk. Book 2, volume 2, book 2, whatever you want to call it, issue 1 from IDW. We're ready for another hot orc summer right here. I still don't know why that's our tagline, other than the fact that it is the most great, like, romantic-y book that we have right now. So I guess that's why. But if you didn't read The Hunger in the Dusk, please buy volume 1 right now, because it's so good. But this is the story of a world where there's humans and there's orcs. The orcs tribes don't get along with each other. Nobody gets along with the humans, but they're all being attacked by these creatures called the Vankels, who are going to destroy them all. So the orcs create a peace treaty between themselves, and then they decide they need to create a treaty with, like, essentially the humans. So they send the princess of one of the orc tribes to be the healer for the last men standing, which are, like, the great, like, men warriors of the world, to go out and, like, get behind the Vangels, essentially, and destroy them from before they could ever, like, get to where the orcs are. And meanwhile, there's, like, all this orc relation stuff going on and happening in the world. And so in volume 1, book 1, whatever you want to call it, we started to see a beautiful love story start to form, and it was so good and so wonderful. And then Jewel Wilson just, like, stomped on your heart and destroyed enjoyed it. And it ended with this cliffhanger of hate is what I'm going to call it. It's cliffhanger of hate. That sounds great. No, it was just, they parted ways in the worst way, and I hated it. And so now they've sent a new healer to be with our last man standing, and she is a fake princess. Essentially, she's a woman who like wants to be a princess, and everybody kind of hates her immediately, and she is trying so hard to just throw herself at our group, and we're not having it. This is not the way this is going to go. And we're going to see beautiful love story start to hopefully come back to us. We've got to save what we had, and also, you know, maybe save the day too, you know, whatever, kill the bad guys, sure, whatever. I just need this love story to happen because it's so fantastically good. If you've never read anything G. Willow Wilson has written, you need to, because she's a fantastic, incredible, absolutely wonderful creator who writes some of the best comics, and this is such a good story. I love it. I'm obsessed with it, in case you couldn't tell. And I can't wait to see where this goes. It's going to be such a good volume of the story. Again, we're getting more copies of Volume 1 in stock because I want everybody to read it and get into this new volume because it's so good. I'm not even like a super high fantasy fan. This really, like, it's like I said, it's more of the romantasy, like the romance fantasy stories. So honestly, like, if you're a book reader and you're reading things like Sarah J. Maas and all of that, like, this is definitely not as smutty, but still as good. So grab that. We've got a bunch of other books in stock. I'm going to fly through really fast for you. I'm going to save these two for last because I'm most excited about them. We've got Giant Size Silver Surfer. We're getting a bunch of Giant Size issues from all of the Marvel series this year. We've got one for Silver Surfer right here. Blood Hunt continued with Union Jack the Ripper issue 3. Outsiders issue 9. I'm so excited to see a Batwoman story that's still going. Absolute Power continued this week with Task Force 7. This is the newest DC event that you need to be checking out. It is Absolute Power. We've got some issue 1s for the first thing that launched for that you can snag, that you can totally check out if it's the series for you and get into it. Annihilation 2099 issue 2, which had the Star-Lord 2099 and Quasar 2099 like first big moment. We're going to see a lot of 2099 characters develop out of that. We've got Avengers issue 16, which is also part of your Blood Hunt, I believe, or did we... No, yes, Blood Hunt. This is part of your Avengers, part of the Blood Hunt. We've got Gotham by Gaslight, the Kryptonian Era, issue 2. This is your next part of your Gotham by Gaslight story, finally coming back your way as we bring back Elseworlds. We've got Daredevil, issue 11, and Ghost Rider, Final Vengeance, issue 5. Green Lantern hit issue 13 this week. If you heard about it all over the internet, it is here now. We have Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu issue 0 coming straight out of your pages of Bloodline and back into your Moon Knight title. We've got that 0 issue to get you ready for the return of Moon Knight. We've got Sinister Sons issue 5, Spider-Boy issue 9, which I know was another big one this week. Star Wars The High Republic Adventures. This is issue 7 of phase 3. We have Action Comics issue 1067, and I just really like this cover. I think it's such a cool Superman cover. Wolverine Blood Hunt issue 3. We've got the launch of X-Men issue 1 right here for your all-new X-Men universe that is starting up all over again right here, right now. And then X-Men Era of Apocalypse issue 3. And then we had 2 really cool things come out this week. One is Batman 89 Echoes has come out with issue 3. Finally, it's been forever. And look at this beautiful Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman cover. Goodness gracious, that's beautiful. I love it so much. Gotta get one. We also had the 40th anniversary of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I always feel super old when I say that, but we have hit that moment, and there are, I think there's like 12 stories in here. I'm going to open it up. There are maybe more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 stories, and then a bunch of pinups, one of which is a brand new story with that original style Eastman art.
Page for me.
I can turn the page for you. Oh, look at that. That's nice. Yeah, so if you are a fan of Ninja Turtles, you're definitely going to need this issue for sure. And it was one of our hot sellers this week. So there is a story in here that's just called Krang Among Us. So I'm just going to flip that over really fast for my Krang loving husband on the other side of the camera, so he knows that it exists when he gets there. I don't want to spoil it. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Didn't know you were actually.
That's on your turtle shirt, so.
There you go. Still Turtles. That's why I wore the shirt, because it's the 40th anniversary of the Ninja Turtles. And then we also have some trade paperbacks in stock this week. We have Canary in. This is an awesome, amazing Scott Snyder, Dan Panosian story that you actually absolutely have to read. It was so good. Going into a mine, all kinds of dark entities, a Western like guy that's like, oh, I have this story of this time when I stopped the bad guy, but now the bad guy is like secretly after him again, and all this bad stuff. It's haunted. It's great. It's wonderful. It is all of the issues in one thing. Seriously, that's the only way we have it too. We sold out of this like twice over in single issue format, maybe 3 times over. So if you want to read it, you're going to have to grab a trade. We've got the Wendy Award. Oh, Wendy, I love you. Wendy is nominated for a coveted contemporary art prize for her book Wanda, and she is thrust into the national spotlight, and this is the worst thing that could happen for Wendy. She is not having it. It is a great book. You got to check it out. And then we've got What We Wished For. This is a mysterious comet flying overhead, supernatural being offering to grant a group of children one wish each. But they take too long, and the comet passes. In 35 years, the mysterious comet is flying over again, and now maybe, just maybe, those wishes will start to come true. And we learned that what you wish for when you're a kid and what you wish for when you're an adult do not have the same... it does not have staying power necessarily, so gotta check that one out. And then lastly, we have the Zatanna Paul Dini book back in stock. So for those of you who are excited for the new Zatanna series, we have back in stock that full Paul Dini run on Zatanna that you absolutely must have in your collection if you are a Zatanna fan. This is the quintessential Zatanna. As I said earlier, we've got a ton of great stuff happening this week. We've got Manga Club on Wednesday at 6 p.m. If you want to come talk about manga, we are meeting up to do just that at 6 p.m. We've got Ladies and Non-Binary Nerd Night this Thursday at 8 p.m. We've got story time on Friday. We will be out at Rocky Bluff Library for story time Thursday morning. This Saturday is Story Spelunkers, as well as our Comics as Art History free meetup. Come listen to Barrett talk about all the history of comics as art here at the store. It's from an art historian. It's going to be such a cool way to see the comic art and how it's changed over the years. And if you just want to hear about the history and impact of comics and comic strips on American culture, come see me Tuesday night at the Bishop. Grab your tickets in advance. If you're a member, you save of the Bishop, you can save $5. So the cheap tickets are not expensive at all. So grab them on the internet right now. Come out and hang out at the Bishop, see the Snoopy exhibit, and learn about Snoopy and NASA, and then learn about all of the comic strip history and comic history that leads to impacting American culture. It's going to be fun. It's going to be blast. Tuesday night. Don't miss it. And if we don't see you at any of those things, we will probably see you on Wednesday for New Comic Book Day, but we will definitely see you back here next Sunday night at 9 p.m. as we wind down your weekend with all of this week's newest indie and small press comics. Until then, it was great talking to you about all the comics I love this week. Happy reading, everyone. We'll see you around.